unpack the incredible story of Finland's transformation. And look, this isn't just a fluke. This quote from the World Economic Forum shows they have consistently put Finland right at the top of the list for its amazing business environment and political maturity. But the real question is, how on earth did they get there? Because what makes this story so wild is the context. I mean, we're talking about a country with a population of only 5 million people, tucked way up at the top of the world. It's a place where the Finnish language is spoken almost nowhere else. So seriously, how did this seemingly peripheral nation become a global tech powerhouse? Okay, here's how we're going to break it all down. We'll kick things off with a crisis that basically changed everything. Then we'll look at the super bold investment they made in their future, the educational foundation that made it all possible, their amazing transformation from forests to phones, and finally, the big lessons this story holds for the rest of the world. You know, every great comeback story starts with a low point. And for Finland, that moment came in the early 1990s, when the country found itself on the absolute brink of collapse. And the turbulence was just incredibly rapid. I mean, imagine your country's economy, after kind of overheating in the late 80s, suddenly just plunges into the worst peacetime recession of the century. This severe depression, followed by a long and really painful recovery, it was a true national trauma. And this wasn't just some abstract economic thing. The human cost was absolutely immense. At its peak, unemployment skyrocketed to nearly 20%. Just think about that for a second. 1 in every 5 people was out of a job. The country was just reeling. So with the economy in a total freefall and unemployment soaring, what did Finland do? Well, they made an unconventional, almost counterintuitive wager on their future. Now, here's where Finland's path just veers sharply away from the typical crisis response. Most countries would turn to pure austerity, cut everything, focus on short-term fixes. And yeah, Finland did cut most of its spending. But in a moment of incredible foresight, they chose to increase funding for research and development. They decided that building long-term strength was way more important than just surviving the moment. And we really can't overstate how difficult this choice was. As this source points out, it took immense political courage. The easy path, the politically popular path, would have been to just create a bunch of short-term jobs. But through a national consensus, they chose to invest in a knowledge-based future. So the first key lesson is crystal clear. In a crisis, betting on long-term capabilities, not just short-term fixes, can be a total game changer. But here's the crucial point. This brave wager, it was only possible because Finland had spent decades building a really powerful foundation, and that foundation was its education system. The Finnish education system is legendary for a reason. It's built on this principle of equality. Basic schooling has been a right for everyone since way back in the 1800s, and today, education is free, all the way through university. The result? They're a top performer in international PISA scores with this uniquely low variation between students. Basically, everybody gets a world-class education. And that reveals a second powerful insight. A highly educated population isn't an expense, it's the ultimate national insurance policy. So, what was the result of this bold, crisis-era wager, all built upon that solid educational foundation? Well, it was nothing short of a complete economic metamorphosis. This whole transformation is captured perfectly in these two images. On the left, you see the traditional forestry industry, which was the backbone of Finland's economy for centuries: timber, pulp, paper. On the right, you get a glimpse into the clean, high-tech manufacturing that replaced it. This meant abandoning generations of expertise and capital to leap into a completely new, knowledge-driven arena. And the data tells the exact same story. This chart shows that back in the late 1980s, high-tech products made up just 5% of Finland's exports. By the early 2000s, that number had quadrupled to around 20%. This was a fundamental shift in the very structure of their economy. Of course, this shift from a resource-based economy to a knowledge-driven one, like you see in this high-tech lab, couldn't run on old skill sets. It demanded a brand new, highly skilled workforce, people who are fluent in software engineering, telecommunications, and industrial design. And this is where that incredible education system just kicked into high gear. It responded with astonishing speed. Between 1993 and 1998, that's just 5 years at the height of the transition, new student admissions to ICT programs grew by a staggering 126%. The system adapted to meet the demand, and one company's story just perfectly encapsulates this whole national pivot. That company, of course, was Nokia. Before the crisis, it was the sprawling conglomerate making everything from rubber boots to cables. But Faced with near bankruptcy, it made a radical decision: sell off everything to focus solely on telecommunications. By 1995, Nokia had become the electrifying symbol of the new, high-tech Finland. The crucial point here is economic flexibility, having the courage to let old structures die so that new ones can be born. So, what can we take away from this remarkable story? Let's zoom out for a second and look at the key pillars that made Finland's success possible. The success wasn't magic. It was built on these four pillars. First, a shared national vision and these consensus-building mechanisms that allowed for long-term thinking. Second, deep partnerships between the public and private sectors. Third, a high degree of social cohesion, with strong safety nets that gave people the security to adapt to massive change. And finally, like we saw with Nokia, that economic flexibility to move people and resources from old industries to new ones. What Finland embraced is a concept economists call creative destruction. It's this painful but totally necessary process of letting old industries die to make way for new, more productive ones. A lot of societies resist this, but Finland leaned right into it, revolutionizing its economy from the inside out. Which brings us to our final thought. The Finnish model was built on this foundation of long-term planning and social consensus. But in today's world, which is more polarized, faster-paced, and more globalized than ever before, is that kind of national alignment still even possible?